let's get to this River of Gold and L5R game. I was very confused when I saw this. I knew kind of what this was, and I thought it would tie into L5R. And it really doesn't. I was kind of hoping for a tabletop game like the Clan Wars or the Disc Wars, or at least a board game that had samurai, some type of fighting. The worker placement's fine, but kind of like Imperium. Like, I was expecting something like Dune Imperium where you're raising armies and fighting. And it was kind of weird when I read the back of the box. Seize wealth and power the River of Gold. I was hoping for naval battles on the river. Things that were really weird was, you know, build trade empire. I was like, okay, Imperium is sounding. Dice, okay. This is kind of weird. Includes the mini Parchments expansion. Recruit legendary Parchment with clan powerful abilities. And I'm like, yeah, alright. It seems odd. Did some research. And this is made by Office Dog. This is their second game. Really confused. I went to their webpage, checked it out, and they said that this is basically a reskin of a game called Route 66. There's multiple versions of Route 66, so I'm not sure which one it is. I did find a very, very old copy, but I didn't really read up on it. One of the things that set this apart and why I said screw it, I'm going to buy it, is because it sounds like worker placement. And I love worker placement games. I've played this game about 6 times now with varying numbers of people and play styles. And one thing I've noticed about this game is you don't have a good idea who's winning. It looks like you do, but you really don't. And it's a good or bad thing, depending on the type of personality you have. And honestly, this fits another board game that I play, Bitoku, where we have all these tokens that don't fit in the box. Luckily they do in Rivers of Gold. But Bitoku is a Japanese yokai themed board game, kind of like how the L5R universe is, extremely whitewashed. And it's a point salad. After playing Rivers of Gold, yes, it is a point salad. You basically get points for everything. With that, let's get to how the game actually works. As you can see, the game board is huge. It's about 40 by 24. It's a 3-part pants-fold board. And I have to say, it is a beautiful board. Gold foiling is done for the river. It's done for the money icons. Even the insert here has all this gold in it. Kinda looks like one of those Valentine's Day chocolate candy boxes. This insert sucks, by the way. I have to say, I really like the art style of this board. And this game is basically Monopoly. It plays like Monopoly to me with more options, and I kind of like it, and I hate Monopoly. But your goal is to travel down this river. You have these dots. These are the locations that are tied to region specifics. So the 1, it's all these mountain symbols. The tree district 2, the wheat 3. And then you'll have these spots. These, depending on player count, are starting buildings. And the buildings pretty much work with how you're going to get resources. You buy a building, and you're going to place it on any open place that's based on your die number. And that's where the game gets a little bit weird. You're going to roll a die, and it's going to give you that number. That number is going to give you the option of playing either a customer of that number, if you have the resources. So that is a 2, which is the tree. You can play this monk. If you have all the resources available, then you'll get their ability. And customers are really important that I'll get to. This allows you to move one of your ships X amount of spaces. Your ships are going to start on the ship in the middle and the ship at the top. You have to move that many spaces. But basically, you move spaces, buy a building, and the building price doesn't matter. There's a spot down here for the buildings that are purchasable. What matters for the price is how much they cost in the regions. And the goal is, you know, min-max. So you'd rather pay 5 than 12. And this is one of the weird fighting things about it. You can play a customer that fits that region, which is going to give you usually a lot of bonuses, and I'll get to that to the customer part. But when you move down the river, every spot that's connected in that section you'll get those resources. So nothing's here right now, you'll get 4 monies. But let's say that was there. You would get 3 money, 2 influence that goes up on this track, and the owner of said building is going to collect the bonus at the other side. Planning where you're putting your real estate has a lot of strategic trap making, and it's one of the things I really like about this game. That being said, your die can be manipulated by what they call the divine favor. And everyone starts with 2 divine favor. It's tracked on these not so great boards. And what that allows you to do is to manipulate the die by either adding 1 or removing 1 from the value. So on this one, if you remove 1, it'll be a 6. If you add 1, it'll be a 2. This is a neat idea. I really like it because I have terrible dice. But if you're very observant and you see what other players are doing, it gives you the opportunity to plan to either, are they going to move down to a place that's beneficial for you, or you're going to force them? Or are they going to try to do a customer thing to go jump up on the track and get these resources and bonuses? There's a strategic planning to how you want to do the actions. In this game, though, we will get down to how it works. Here we have the 4 clans that are in this game. And if you know anything about L5R, doesn't really make sense why they are there. I don't think these guys read the lore, or they just don't care. Everyone has basically the same effects. Everyone has the same limit on how much silk, rice, and porcelain they can have, which is a max of 6 each. Everyone has a max of $25, or koku in this case. Your actions are all the same, and your anytime abilities are all the same. There is really no difference, it's just a color preference unless you want to play your clan. But again, it doesn't really matter. For the sake of argument, we'll use the Creighton clan, the ones that would be the least associated with trading because they're more consumers than actual workers or buyers. For your beginning first turn of the game, the die will already be rolled, that face will be shown. Your divine favor starts at 2, cannot pass this croissant. It's a moon token, I guess. And the first thing you're going to do is decide if you want to manipulate your divine favor. Then you're going to get 1 action. You can either build, sell, or deliver. Building. As shown earlier, depending on the die number, you will buy a building, place it on an open location that, if you're smart, you're probably going to buy the cheapest location, and place it there. You will immediately get to put your little disc. This tells you own the building, and the other thing it adds is for influence. Influence is this track up here. Your disc is going to move how much influence it is for the building you bought, so 4, and you're going to get those resources immediately. It is an important mechanic because this leads to scoring. You'll also have these objectives depending on how many players you play. That first, second, and third place on this track will get that many bonus points for endgame scoring. It's one of the few ways to really get it efficiently. Another is going to these locations and visiting it. And this is where the point salad tracking things is really hard. Selling, move down the spots, collect like I showed earlier. And the last thing is deliver, depending on the number. So here we have the artisan. We don't have the resources though, but if we did have the resources, we could spend the divine favor, turn this to a 2, spend 2 pots, and then deliver this. And the artisan says, gain 2 influence in the tree district, put your artisan token, one of your markers on the artisan token up here, and this is going to give you a benefit if buildings cost 2 less in that region. And at the bottom, they're going to have these effects. These are endgame scoring effects. Customers are very odd in this game. There are only 30 customers, 5 per each district. 6 districts, 5, 30 cards, 1 of each type. They almost all have different abilities. Some are the same, like the noble will let you upgrade one of your normal ships to a merchant ship because he's your sugar daddy. The artisans make stuff cheaper, give you influence, they seem kind of weak. The monk is a weird customer. They don't give you any endgame scoring. They do allow you to go up on how much divine favor you can have, and they'll usually give you 1. You can't exceed this croissant. The monks don't affect endgame scoring. What they allow you to do is basically put an extra disc on a building, so now the owner will get double the effects. Or, depending on what symbol down here, because there's 2 of them, one is for buildings you own, one is for opponents' buildings. You can co-own a building, so you'll now get that bonus. They do feel like the weakest of your customers. The noble lets you upgrade your ship, gain influence, has endgame scoring bonuses. The merchants are very strong. The merchants allow you to do, when you pass down the river, to trigger something with the end passing effects that I'll get to. They give you influence, and they make money worth endgame points. And the last thing is the Elder. The Elder lets you put your tracker up here. What this does is it doubles the point bonus they affect. This is crazy good depending on where you are and how many points it's worth. Another side note about the customers is up here, how many customers that you've delivered to is also how many points you're going to get. So customers are pretty good. The last part is claim masteries. This is just a thing that you're going to trigger. When you start the game, you're going to throw out 3 of these, and depending what they do, or what their requirements are, you'll score those points. Those points are instantly scored. You will place your disc over it to say that you've scored it. Put your points on the board. And it's scored in order first, well, there's no place for fourth in this. They are double-sided. As you can see in a 2-player game, you're pretty much only going to be first there gets it. And then last action that you're going to do at the end of your turn, which is not really an action, it's just something you have to do. Roll a die. And this is where, if people are observant, they will see what your future plans are. You do have this ability at any time to convert 2 of your same trade goods, so silk, rice, or porcelain. You can swap 2 of them out to be anything else. It's a free effect, basically. And you can buy favor. So if you're ever running short on favor, and you're going to use this a lot to manipulate your dice, you can pay 5 koku. And your turn, discard down to whatever the resource minimums are, or resource maximums are. Endgame is triggered by this weird tile. This tile holds buildings. Depending on player count, how many buildings you get, it's a really interesting natural progression for game advancement. When the last level 1 building is been removed from this stack, it's going to trigger the Emperor's Visit. Everyone is going to get, that owns that building, will get the rectangular effect. So triggering, there is really no benefit to accelerate the first round. The second stack here, these are the level 2 buildings noted by the dots. Person places the last building that shows this, got to get 5 points, and it's basically going to trigger endgame. Everyone's going to get 1 more time except for the player that triggered it. And I've noticed a lot of the times in this game, people who trigger this usually don't win. It's kind of a hard thing to decide who's going to take that hit. So this is where the merchant gets really strong. When you play the merchant, you're going to gain influence for whatever region it is. That's not the important part. The important part is it allows you to place 1 of your discs on the merchant track down here. And as you can tell by this iconography, discard. That means discard the building in this row. You'll also get a divine favor if you happen to buy the building in this last row. Depending on what you roll, you're going to go that many spaces. Once you pass this, you'll do this. And if you have if you don't have the merchant, you're not going to get the merchant's effect. You will still discard that. These will slide down, and a new building will take over its spot. You can get 3 koku, or 1 of any resource. And then you'll loop back to the top and go down how many spaces it tells you. While you have a disc here, And you only need to put one disc. You don't need to put a disc for every merchant you have. All the character abilities are pretty much different. When you complete your goods in a journey, you may sell goods for 5 each. And then, of course, you got the end game scoring bonus. This makes this very efficient to go down the river. But you want to be careful, because emptying this out really quick and triggering the Emperor's Visit, if you don't have a lot of buildings, you're not going to get any bonuses out of it. Everyone else will. And then we'll continue down until it triggers this part, and you'll get bonus points. So what makes the merchant very strong in this game? Elders, like I've stated, when you play an Elder, it'll allow you to do that, and that's the double multiplier for whatever place you are. A lot of selection and picking, because all these points are different. And you're going to go with whatever the highest amount is that works out for your favor. This is a interesting thing on the 2-player side. This is if they're within 5 spaces of you. So if you're here... Also, every time you pass one of these, you're instantly going to collect their rewards. It's either a resource, money, divine favor. This is for one of the public bonus scoring cards. First person to get there will get that point. And of course, you pass here, that's 3 points. And then you get here, you get that. Pretty straightforward. The nobles are a huge X factor, and seeing how there's only one of each region in play, control is very good. Or, excuse me, the Elder. The Noble lets you upgrade your ship. You only get one of these cool, fangled, updated yachts, and that yacht's going to gain the ability. You can only have one, can't upgrade more than that. But after this ship sails, you will gain whatever their ability is. And these are very efficient, very strong. And again, they'll have an end-game scoring point objective difference. This brings us to the Monk. I don't really like these guys. They don't seem very strong. Gaining the influence seems strong, but they don't have any end-game scoring. The effects of getting the bonuses from the buildings, very situational. I don't care for it. The Artisans are one of the cheapest units to put our customers to deliver goods to. They give you influence in the region, which is good. They do make buildings cheaper if you're trying to do monopolies. And they do have endgame scoring. I just don't think they're as efficient as the other classes. The iconography on this board is very easy to read. They also give you these reference cards, very easy to look at and decide what you're trying to do. And a player aid that tells you what effects everyone does. The game is very straightforward, and I like it because it's simple. Teaching the game didn't take too long, and the concept, surprisingly, was very easy to grasp for everyone. Now we get to the weird part of the clans. If you are a big L5R lore person, this doesn't matter. We have some background of the clans. None of these are special abilities, it's lore. I don't really understand why they did this, I don't like it. One of the things that they did do that I find a little odd is each of the clans got 2 of these guys. And these are characters from the L5R universe. Some of them make sense, like the wily traders in the cloud. But honestly, they shouldn't have made clan-specific boards if you're going to have this. They could have gave you these guys, and that would have changed how the layout would have been for the game. They could have been your clan representatives of what clan you're playing, and they give you those bonuses. The fact that they called it a mini expansion seems very odd to me, and it's weird that they did that. I don't know if these guys are super broken. I've played with them a few times. I don't think they are. They're just kind of wonky and don't fit the universe. Especially since, why would samurai be trading? I can understand some things, but courtesans wouldn't really be trading. They would be wheeling and dealing, but I guess that kind of fits in the trading nature. But the characters don't really fit the theme. This is a beautiful game that's trying to follow Asian lore, I guess. The art is very nice. I do like it. It looks very traditional. The iconography, the style. But it doesn't make sense. I don't know why they did it. I have a feeling they were forced to do it. And if you're a big person into L5R, don't expect to actually fit the theme with the recreation of battles unless you enjoy being a merchant. That might be a thing that you enjoy. I don't know. The components are actually really nice. Cardboard's nice and thick. The iconography, like I said, is very easy to read. The dice are easy to read. I like the dice too. Things I kind of thought were weird is they didn't punch out the center of the coins. Another thing was they didn't foil the coins. That would have been really impressive to do it, but I'm pretty sure it also probably cost more money than one to invest. This insert is nice and yet completely inefficient. I like that they did this. They didn't have to do that. If you sleeve your cards, there is actually space. You can see me pushing down. It won't fit all your sleeve cards. They could have made it a little bit deeper and it would have fit all your sleeve cards. Having this format, I think, is terrible. These don't really fit well. I saw them post something on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days. It just doesn't store well. The coins are way too big, especially these. They take up a lot of space. You have your resource divided into little piles. I've seen them throw it all in there. I don't like that. I like just being able to find where I can grab my components. This is very unnecessary. Another thing that's kind of annoying is these don't really fit. So if you want to have individual trays for everything, it's just not going to work. That being said, everything will fit. It just won't fit great. This game is definitely chaotic at times because you can't tell with the die rolls, manipulations, how you're going to spend your divine favor to change effects. There's going to be 2 ships on the board. You're going to have one starting in the middle, and you'll have one starting at the top up here where the ship spot is. And it's going to be really hard to min-max. There is a lot of analysis paralysis with this. The divine favor mechanic I do like, and it's not that hard to get divine favor. A lot of the buildings will have divine favor. So we can see this one gives the owner. Resource gathering, it all depends on how you put businesses out. A lot of times you want to put businesses out just to be a real estate baron. It's kind of weird that controlling buildings doesn't really matter. It just helps you with this influence track. Another odd thing about it is that they don't really count for points. And putting them out in a location that's going to get people to come to you, a lot of them don't feel like they're giving you a good benefit. The level 2 buildings are definitely better than level 1 buildings. It will pay out more, but they incentivize them for you to get a divine favor and a rice resource for them getting money that allows them to buy more buildings. It's kind of a double-edged sword. What does help is putting buildings where you can control. They want to go there. You'll get a lot of stuff, they'll get a lot of stuff, and it's kind of an equal trade. The division of the buildings, there's always going to be 4 per region. I don't really understand why they did this weird thing. I don't really like it. Straight across would have been a lot easier. But there are times where it's a little confusing. You'll be like, oh, here, here, here. Okay. Reading can be a little hectic, especially farther away, because you're going to have to go back and forth and check that. But this, like, that's just 4 corners, very easy. But then you go here and it's kind of wonky. But I do like the board. It's not too hard to read, and it's pretty straightforward. Customers feel unfair. Your starting hand is going to be 2. You can't have more than 2 unless you have one of the clan guys. And the customer thing is random, because some customers are definitely stronger than the others. Like I said, the monk doesn't feel that strong. He costs a lot of resources too. The nobles or the elders, depending on what region and where you're scoring, definitely strong. The merchant going down the river, triggering that end effect, getting those bonus points, very strong. The artisans, they kind of help. I don't really like them that much. That 2 reduction to building costs, it's nice, but these locations vanish very quickly. The nobles are unique, and like I said, there's no repeats of their ability. Everyone does something different. The only thing is the endgame scoring. And the other thing about endgame scoring that's really important is if you have multiple copies of the same person, you can do that endgame scoring multiple times as long as you have that many customers. Very helpful. It's kind of why the X factor. A lot of the times you'll be scoring around 20, 25, 30 points and it'll look like, oh, you're winning. It isn't until endgame's triggered and you add up all the points, customers, everything, your effects, you'll find yourself around 75 to 95 to 100 all of a sudden. It's very weird how many, and it works kind of like brass. I feel like that's why I like this. This, I've been told, is brass light. I don't find brass very complicated, but a lot of people I play with say brass is over the top. And River of Gold being called brass light, I can kind of see it. You do want to put out businesses, you want people to use them. There is a symbiosis / parasitic nature to it. So I get it. Like brass, you want to be a real estate baron, you want to get all those extra triggers and stuff, they're just not points for you. You do have a limited amount of these discs, and they're going to be used for tracking everything. And you can run out of them theoretically. I believe they are supposed to be an infinite resource, and honestly, playing the game, it's really hard to put out all of them. The natural progression of going down the river, people buying buildings, and triggering the endgame mechanics, it's not like most games where they want to put a hard timer. This is a very flexible timer, but it accelerates extremely quick. The game is fairly simple, especially since everyone only gets one action, and you just do your dice manipulations. And that's one thing I like about this, the one action. It makes it feel very quick and engaging for everyone involved. How you win, of course, is very simple. He or she with the most points wins. There's tie-breaking mechanics, usually has to do with the divine favor. I don't really care about tiebreakers. The rules are easy to understand, and the concept of what you're trying to do is very simple. Actions are simple, but the choices are what matters. And that die roll, like I said, is going to be the public knowledge that's going to force you or your opponents to second guess what you're going to do. The customers do feel wonky. Getting more customers, when you play a customer card, you'll draw 2 and discard 1. There is one location that I've seen so far out of multiple playthroughs, and it's one of the starting locations. So one of these. That lets you draw another customer, discard one of your other customers. Getting customers, especially the customers you want, is hard. Feels very random. I don't really like that. Again, people who get the merchant out really early are going to start doing this because they will get the bonuses. Merchants are very strong in this game. Again, the Village Elder is very strong too, but you kind of have to work at it and set it up. But I still like the game because it is min-maxing. I'm a big min-maxer. I like worker placement. And I like point salads. You can never tell what's going on, and you just keep on playing your best. It doesn't give you the ability to be like, oh, I'm just going to give up, like some people, and drag down the rest of the group. I am actually very impressed that this is the second game that Office Dog Games has made. Their first one I haven't played. I saw it, was debating to pick it up, then I read the back of the box, and I was like, it doesn't look interesting. But this is a phenomenal game. It's not going to be for everyone. I definitely see a lot of people not enjoying it, especially if you are very big into the L5R community. This feels very disingenuous to put L5R on it. The clans don't really matter. Yeah, you have these guys, but okay. Makes me wonder for expansions what they're going to do. I was joking and said, oh, they'll just reskin this game and make one called the Silk Road with a unicorn. And I was just like, yeah, that's pretty much the same game, wouldn't it? As far as expansions go, if they didn't have clan boards, they could have just made mini expansions of characters. That would have add more customers without messing up the dynamics of this too much. You could have added more business tiles. I don't know if there's going to be expansion in the future. Probably not. This game's kind of niche, but I hope it does well. Like I said, enjoy the game. Games like this, I rank like sushi. I love sushi. But it's not for everyone. It's definitely an acquired taste, especially some of the sushi stuff. Like, if you don't like sea urchin, uni is hard to get used to if you're not used to it. But once you've acquired that taste, you see it for what it is and you appreciate good uni. This is definitely the sushi category. People that aren't big into point salads, tons of action paralysis type things, or they don't understand the concept of everything working together, it definitely could be a turnoff. But for me, this is definitely that. It's sushi. If anyone knows why this actually has the L5R property attached to it, let me know in the comments. I'm very curious. In fact, I might actually mail Office Dog and find out myself. On a plus note, while reading on Office Dog's webpage, they are looking for freelance game designers. This is not an endorsement or anything by that fact. It's just, I find it kind of nice that a company is looking for game designers. It also kind of is suspicious, but I'm going to take that as a beneficial goodwill type thing, that if you're interested in game design, go check them out and see what they got. They might actually help you get published. And this might be what this was. As usual, still doing the 2024 giveaway. I'm at 161 subscribers, and when I hit 200, I'll do the drawing and contact you through YouTube. We'll chat, give you the prize list for what's available for the 50 marks, and send out the prize. You don't have to subscribe to enter, but me getting those numbers definitely helps to get prices out. Other than that, thanks for watching. If you like what I do, please subscribe. Take care, and GG's.